Hello, this is Brighton TV and this is the match preview for Brighton vs Villa, and we're back from the international break, and thankfully it's the last until March. Just been bad for football in general, the international break. There's been so many injuries due to the amount of games players have been playing. 3 games in such a short time isn't good for players' fitnesses at all. And then you look at the COVID cases that have been happening, because they're travelling all over the world to play football. It's just causing players to mix in with a bunch of other players, and it will eventually cause a lot of COVID cases, and that's what it's doing, the international break. And last time we played Burnley, and it was a 0-0 draw, and it was really annoying because we have been creating so many chances versus them, and we just struggled to take them as usual. Lallana and Gross, both of them were creating so many chances, both of them playing together. I was really surprised with that, and I think that could be really important when we play versus low block teams, that we have the option to play 2 players as 8s to play more advanced and whipping balls into the box. And we were without March, and it just showed how much we missed him, because when we were playing Burn instead, Burn doesn't provide the width that March does, and since we didn't have March, all our attacks were coming from the right hand side, and it was really easy for Burnley to stay really compact. Their right back could play almost as a centre back, and due to that it was a lot harder for us to break them down, and that's why Burnley were able to block so many of our shots. And a player that I was impressed with but also disappointed with was Welbeck. He was playing quite good football, and he got into so many good places, but the problem with him was his finishing, and he missed 3 really easy chances, and it was disappointing that he missed them. And Villa, before the international break, they had an amazing 3-0 win versus Arsenal, and in general they played so well this season, getting 5 wins, including a 7-2 win over Liverpool. It just shows how good they've been this season, and we do have to be careful, especially a player like Jack Grealish, who's caused us so many problems in the past. And last season you could tell he scored 3 goals versus us, and this season he's just got even better, and we need to be really careful about him. And Ollie Watkins, he used to partner Maupay at Brentford, and now he's transitioned into the Premier League really well. We have to be careful about him, since he can drift, and that just shows he's a striker who goes wherever he wants. And especially when you see Grealish and Watkins, where they just swap places quite a lot, you need to be careful about them, because it's very easy for defenders to get distracted, and that's how Villa score so many goals. And Grealish, over the international break, he played in all 3 games for England, and he was playing really well in all them games, and it just shows how good of a player he is, and we do have to be really careful of him, and that's why I think we really need to make sure there's always a man marking him. We've got March and Dunk back in the side, back from suspension and injury respectively. And I think both of them are so important to our system of how we play. Dunk being the captain, and Potter has confirmed that he will be back straight in the team. And March, as I said earlier, he provides so much width down the left-hand side. He's able to stretch teams, especially when we play without him. You just see us have such a lack of width, and it's so easy for teams to defend. With March, he could be really key for us in breaking down Villa. And my lineup for this game, I think we should play a 3-4-1-2, and in goal I think we should play Sanchez over Ryan, because Sanchez, when we saw versus Tottenham, his distribution was amazing, and that's where I think he could be really good for us. He was so good at making the ball go over the top of the winger into the fullbacks, and that's where you think he needs to do that, especially with how Villa play, with Grealish coming inside as more of a number 10 that leaves space for Lamptey, and Lamptey one-on-one could be really good versus their left back. So that's why I think we should play Sanchez. And the back 3, I think it should be Dunk, Webster and Veltman. And the reason why I'm not putting White here is because I was really impressed with Veltman when we just for the international break. Veltman was playing really well, and White, I don't think he should play as a left-sided centre-back, with Webster having much more experience, which is why it will probably be Webster on the left-hand side, Dunk the centre of the back three, with Veltman on the right-hand side. And the wing-backs, I've talked about them a lot. March and Lamptey, they are so good in our attacking phase, they simply have to start. And the two midfielders that I'd play Bissouma and Alzate. And Bissouma, he's so good at breaking up play. He simply has to start. He runs the strings in our midfield in terms of breaking other teams' attacks down. And I think Alzate should play alongside him. And the reason is because last season when we played Villa at home, he played 70 minutes or so at the right-back position as a makeshift right-back. And he had pocketed Grealish all that time. Grealish wasn't involved in the game at all. And then when Alzate was pushed further forward and we subbed on a different player to mark Grealish, that's when Grealish actually broke through and ended up scoring. And that's why I hope that Alzate will be able to do a similar man-marking performance versus Grealish this time. And in the 10 role, I think it should be Lallana. And the reason is because Lallana recently has been incredible. He's done so many amazing performances in terms of creating, and defensively he's been good too. So that's why I'd play Lallana there. And the two strikers, I'd play Connolly and Welbeck. And the reason is because Connolly, he's just such a good threat on the counter-attack. And that's why I think it could be good for us to go and play Villa, play them on the counter-attack, force them to attack us, and they will leave spaces in behind their fullbacks. And Connolly, he's got the pace to exploit that, so that's why Connolly should play. And I think Welbeck should play too, because versus Burnley, as I said, he got into lots of good positions, but he wasn't able to finish. And that's where I think Maupay, he hasn't really gotten into good positions recently, and he's looked out of form. So I think it will be better to play Welbeck, who will get into good positions and he'll create space for other players, which could be really key in us getting something from this game. And my score predictions for this game, I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I think it will be 2-2. And I think Grealish and Watkins will score for Villa. And for us, I think it will be Connolly and Dunk. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Brighton TV and follow us on Instagram.